Bud Wilkinson dominated the sport. He's the guy in the 50s. Then Barry Switzer comes along in the 70s. He had a dominant career, one of the great winning percentages of all time. I believe 3 national championships. And then you've got Bob Stoops. And even though he was only there for a short stay, Lincoln Riley would be the weakest of the 4. But, you know, we could delve through history, but off the top of my head, I think it's Lincoln Riley, the 4th spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, Mark, I mean, the 3 of the 4 are certainly no-brainers. With, you know, with what they were able to accomplish, particularly Bud Wilkinson and Barry Switzer, I believe each, to your point, I believe each winning 3 national championships. I would, yeah, it's a tough decision between Lincoln. Benny Owen is another guy that, from a coaching perspective, that I would slightly put above Lincoln Riley, just because of the tenure and the kind of the thought that comes to every Oklahoma person's mind when you mention the name Lincoln Riley. I mean, Benny Owen, like he was one of those guys that he actually was responsible for. I think really kind of putting, keeping Oklahoma, keeping that program together, back then. And then he actually had the stadium is still named after him, Owen Field. So I would just, I mean, and I don't know that I could necessarily give you a big argument, one way or the other in terms of what that looks like. But I think, I'm trying to just pull this up as we speak here. I mean, Lincoln Riley had a 55-10 overall record, and then Benny Owen was 122-54 in his career. So a little bit more longevity for in that time period. And of course, that was 1905 to 1926, where there's, I think the one thing that you would look at, the conference championships, which is fairly similar in terms of the number. Obviously, Lincoln Riley did it in just the 5 years that he was there, versus Benny Owen being there 21 years and just winning the 3 conference championships. But I think he was really, Mark, responsible for kind of putting Oklahoma on the map, so to speak, when he started coaching before Oklahoma was really even officially a state at that point, right? So I would just give him slightly a slight edge, just because of those reasons. And he is in the Hall of Fame as well. So
yeah, so you sold me on this, because if you go by sheer numbers, Lincoln Riley's your guy. He won 85% of his games, and Benny Owen won 68% of his games. And Benny Owen won 3 conference championships in 22 seasons, and Lincoln Riley won 4 in 5 seasons. So there's no comparison between their tenure from a statistical standpoint. However, you're bringing up things that can't be quantified, that are foundational to the survival of a program early in its history, that you would have to go with just from a historical standpoint of how important he was to Oklahoma building a brand and becoming relevant and nationally known and having staying power and being able to continue to play, or even start really playing big time college football. So I think all that supersedes kind of the plug and play. Yeah, Lincoln Riley was a good caretaker, but Bob Stoops handed him pretty much the program that he led for the next 5 seasons.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that's the differentiator to your point. I completely agree.